Welcome. Very glad you could join us today. I'm very happy and excited that I can talk to you about Business IQ and some of the cool things that we've been working on for some time now. Over the next 50 minutes, for those of you who are not familiar with Business IQ, we'll take you through a quick introduction of what it's about. Why did we decide to go in that direction? Then we'll hear from Ameya about how he's been using Business IQ, his journey with Business IQ, which started about a couple of years ago, and how that's progressed in his company and for him in his personal capacity. And then towards the end of it, depending on how much time we have, I'd really like to show you some of the cool things that we've been working on in this product and take some questions towards the end. All right. Before we begin, a message from our friendly sponsors at Legal. Anything you see and hear today, don't make any purchasing decisions based on that. Some of this is probably not generally available. We'll call out when those things come up. So, Business IQ. You heard David talk about the convergence between app and business. Your app and business are now very tightly integrated. Your customer is connected to the code you write. They demand flawless experiences, and they give this loyalty to the brand that delivers it. But unfortunately, the business performance data and application performance data is still not converged. They're still siloed. We've got business analytics tools that look at historical data, look at data that's been collected over the last 30 days, and give you business insights. These tools are not real time. These tools can't give you ad hoc answers to ad hoc questions that you're asking them. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got application performance management tools. These tools give you response time metrics and information about how your applications are performing. They don't have any information about what is the impact of these application issues on your business. This fragmentation in the insights between business data and your application data can't just help you to drive your business. You can't just drive your business this way anymore. Using your business analytics tools, you can get reports that look as far back as a month, a couple of weeks, and some of the tools can even tell you what is going on right now. You can know things like your conversion rates are dropping, but they won't help you get to the why of this question. Using APM-related tools, you can get information about why your response times are rising, but APM tools can tell you what impact those increasing response times are having on your business. What's missing in all this is context. Context about what is causing these business problems, or context about these application issues and their impact on the business. So this context drives action. And by that I mean, when conversion rates drop, you need to know that they're dropping because of a payment processing API that was released recently. So if it's the new payment processing API, you need to know that it's because of the performance problems with the new processing API that's causing this drop in conversion, and not because of some competitor dropped their price and your customers are now moving off to a different competitor. This context can also drive opportunity. It's not just about the impact of the issues that are happening in your applications, but it also gives you an opportunity to optimize and fine-tune your application. For example, if you knew that by fine-tuning the performance of your credit check transaction, you could also improve the conversion rate of your loan applications by 20 additional loans per hour, that's huge for business. That's huge for your revenue. So this context is at the center of what Business IQ is about, and it's provided by looking at the whole business transaction context. So business transactions joins together application source code that's running in different tiers. You get context about which code is executing in one single pane of glass. It's actionable because it's real time. You get information about what's happening with your users, what's happening with your applications right now, as opposed to a week later or a month later when you'll see a report. And it's also unifying because for the first time, your business and IT can talk about the same issues in one language. What you're seeing on your screen is a representation of a transaction. This transaction is flowing through different services, and it's looking at application source code that's executing in different machines. Now we can also overlay on top of these transactions business data that tells you which customer was interacting with your business, what type of customer it was, where was this journey started from, what API were they using, and what was the revenue impact. This is what Business IQ is about, and whether you want to look at these visually, whether you want to get alerted on these key business metrics, Business IQ tells you what's happening, why it's happening, and it validates whether the health of your business is green or yellow or tending towards red. Now, different customers use Business IQ for different needs. Each of them have their separate use cases. I love this quote from John, and you heard him on stage. He talked about many different ways in which Carhartt has been using Business IQ for the last 12 months. But what I like about this code is how his IT teams and his business teams have been able to use the same vocabulary to talk about common issues. Now, different customers use Business IQ in different ways. We've looked at a lot of data over the last year since it's been launched, and we've bucketed them into 4 main use cases that may or may not fit well for your case, but are kind of inspirational for you if you're starting on this journey. The first one is the business health use case. This use case is about looking at the health of your business in real time. If you're familiar with our application performance monitoring product, you know that our APM product captures a lot of metrics. These metrics are automatically baseline. There are health rules that come out of the box. When these metrics deviate from baselines, we alert you via those health rules. You can use the same data model for your business health. You can set up your metrics on your revenue. You can set up your metrics on your loan amount. They don't necessarily have to be on your CPU or memory. This dashboard shows you some of the key metrics at the top. You can see the number of unique sessions that are happening on your website. You can see the number of users. You can see your conversion rate, and you can baseline each and every one of them. By default, AppDynamics gives you a bunch of baselines to choose from, which means you can compare your revenue to how it was at the same time yesterday. You can compare your revenue to how it was same time last week, 15 days ago, 1 month ago, or so on. If you're looking at an event like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, you can also create custom baselines for those days. The next use case is about tracking the journey of your users. So your users, if you're an e-commerce application, go through different steps before they convert. They log in, they search for a product, they check out the price, they add that product to cart, they add shipping information, and they finally convert and buy. The user journey use case is about tracking those different steps and finding out where your customers are dropping off and why they're dropping off. We've made some pretty cool enhancements to this, which I'll demo to you towards the end. But this main use case is about trying to figure out if the credit check API, which hits another third-party service, is causing your users to drop off before they can convert. You can alert in real time when that happens, and you can monitor the health of each and every step in your user journey in real time. The next use case, which we call customer segment monitoring, is inspired by one of our customers who's in the travel industry. So this customer is a service provider for different portals like Kayak, Expedia, Orbitz, Paylocity. And clients of these portals like Expedia, when they execute a search transaction for searching a flight, when booking a hotel, reserving a car, hit the services provided by this particular client. Now, they have different SLAs with different portals. APM gives them health metrics about how logins are doing on aggregate. APM gives them health metrics or how search is doing on aggregate. But with Business IQ, they can segment the search for different portals. They can now find out how is the performance of search and login for Travelocity compared to the performance for Priceline. They can alert on these separately. They can set up health thresholds on these separately if they have separate SLAs. And they can look at the different views of their application health for each of these segments. The last one that I think Ameya will touch on in his talk is release validation. This one's about making sure that when you release a new version of your mobile application, when you release a new version of your browser application or your backend application, not only is your application performing as it was before, but your business is not impacted. APM will give you insights into making sure that your login transactions are normal after you migrated to cloud, or after the new version of your application was updated. But Business IQ can also tell you that your users are converting at the same rate or better, that your mobile applications are not crashing at the same function that they were before in the previous version of your iOS application. Your user journeys are showing you the same metrics and the users are converting at the same rate as they were before. These are just some of the use cases that we've seen our customers go through. Now, they may not apply to you as is. I just meant to show them as inspirations when you go and start this journey with us. We've been lucky in having some partners that have been great for the past year and a half. This is another quote from United Airlines who's been using Business IQ to look at the health of their business in real time. They're looking at how many airlines, how many flights are departing on time. They're looking at how customers are booking their tickets, whether they're using their miles, whether they're using Visa, which currency are transactions coming in. And they've been able to get great insights using Business IQ. Now, one such partner who's been on this journey with us for the last year and a half is with us. I've known Ameya for about a year. Ameya, you want to just come on stage? Great to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Ameya's been using Business IQ for a year, and he's been a great partner. I think you have your slides here?
Yep.
So over the next 20 minutes, he's going to take you through his journey, both personally and professionally with Business IQ.
Thank you, Amod. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Good morning, New York. And so how many of you know financial engines?
The demo?
No.
Okay, a few hands.
The slide.
So let me introduce financial engines. So we are the nation's largest independent investment advisor. So what that means is we provide unbiased, conflict-free investment advice on your portfolio and on your accounts. With that, let's discuss the footprint that we have over the nation. We basically provide financial help today to more than 700 companies, out of which 150 of them are Fortune 500. More than 9 million people have access to our services, including online and personal presence, as well as we manage more than 150 billion in assets. 150 B is a very big amount. It's billion with a B. So financial engines is in a complicated business, and we provide investment advice. But let me give you an idea of how the relationship works with the customers. So a customer could be any person like you or me who is working for an employer. And as you see in the hierarchy there, you work for an employer where the employer provides you 401k as a benefit as a services. And your 401k is managed by either of these big companies who are located in the country, basically who manage your 401k account for you on behalf of the employer. And where financial engines comes in is we basically provide a service to your employer and through your employer to you. So your employer chooses us as your investment advice service, and basically we get your data and the information about your account from the providers that we have partnership with. With that, how do you access financial engines today? So we basically come in a way that when you log into your employer's benefits page, either through intranet or through the HR benefits page, you basically see some link or some information about how to access your 401k. When you click on that, you go to the provider's retirement page, wherein you see a page wherein you have information about your account, contributions to your 401k, how can you change any of the settings there. There you should see something like a small widget about financial engines, where we display personalized content to you with relevant information to your account. So once you click on that, you land up on the financial engines dashboard, where you can change and update those contributions and settings and any other parameters that you wish to with your own account and portfolio. So with that, I'll discuss 4 major use cases that we have today, and how Business IQ helps us understand those segments and basically improve the performance of our application by keeping into mind customer experience or the user's experience. So the first main use case is to segregate segments. We today have multiple segments that we can capture data on, and every business has its own use case and different segments that they want to capture along with the data that they get today. So essentially what is more important to us is which provider the user belongs to, which employer the user belongs to, because based on these things, we basically customize the user's experience and deliver different content to them in a more personalized manner. You can also see some other parameters there which we try to capture in order to come up with those personalizations. The second most important thing is we don't want to go in every time and understand by looking at individual snapshots on what those segments are. We rather would build a report or a dashboard which is built on using these segments, and basically has a set of widgets wherein we can look at the performance of the application just by looking at the dashboard and get to know if something is going good or not. The next use case is more important from a business standpoint, wherein we want to understand how the user is responding to the features and to the application that we have out, and how are the clicks going on, how is the conversion going on, and we should see some kind of a metric or a graph like that which says, okay, the user engagement went up, the user engagement went down, and we can take actions based on these segments and these numbers. And the most important metric for a technical team would be to monitor on the errors wherein we basically captured segments, we know how the business is doing, but how is the technical application or basically your technology that you're using today to build your application doing across these multiple segments. So the same application would behave differently for a different provider or a different employer based on the features that are rolled out to them or any other A/B test that you might be running on the content that you're showing to your customers. So how does AppDynamics Business IQ help us with that? If you're currently using any of the other modules that AppDynamics has on APM or something like user experience, you get to know that AppDynamics captures everything of your data, but you basically don't have the 100% visibility of every user snapshot. So every request that comes on the application is not really visible to you. You get a sample of snapshots that AppDynamics captures on by its default, and then you can slice and dice and look into those snapshots. But what AppDynamics Business IQ gives you is 100% of the snapshots data. So every request of every customer that comes in, you get to know everything captured along with these segments that you have. The second most important thing is ability to capture custom data. As I mentioned, our business is unique to these things, and we care about a lot of these segments in order to provide the best user experience that we can. So AppDynamics Business IQ helps us capture these custom segments. It also helps us drill down using advanced queries, and then we can build complex dashboards and even custom queries that matter to us the most. And eventually have reports and dashboards ready for any technical team or the business team or execs to just go and look at how the health of the application is, how the business is doing, how are the other metrics across these segments and stuff. So this brings to a very important point in how we make or how we take business decisions based on these metrics. So now we have these segments captured, we have dashboards built, we are looking at a lot of segments and a lot of data that AppDynamics captures. But one of the most important point for the technical team is to have faster MTTR. How many of you like today if a customer reports you an issue by either surveys or calling to your support center? Nobody likes that. So this helps us in understanding the issues upfront, and when you roll out a feature, your dashboard should automatically show these metrics and tell you that something is wrong, so that you can take faster action, drill down into the root cause of the problem, as you saw in Amod's presentation or any other cases, and then basically fix that issue upfront so that the less customers get a problematic view of the application. With A/B tests and other content, you do a phased rollout to a lot of things, and you're testing out your new UI, new features, new capabilities of the application across various customers. So understanding how those separate tests or A/B tests are working across all the segments and with your customer, you basically can do phased rollout and get real-time analytics. So if I roll out a feature with an A/B test, I can get to know that how the customer is behaving across A versus B, and then it helps understand which feature should I productize. A particular feature or a particular A/B test might work well for a particular provider or an employer, but the same might not be true for another employer. So based on that, I can either productize A for provider A versus B for an employer A. So those are the key business decisions that we take today, and that helps us immensely in driving business and improving the conversion that we have. So with that, let me tell you a story about how we basically fixed an issue before the customer reporting us, which was very hard to detect, and how Business IQ helped us understand that issue. So the application that we have is a small widget, as you saw in the initial slides, that how I introduce and how you land on the financial engines place on from a provider's web page. So that application drives personalized content, and it's heavily dependent on your profile. And for that, we basically make a third-party URL call to derive what's best for you and what's the best content that we should show you. And we rely on this URL in order to show the content. Otherwise, we show a default content, not an error page, but something like which is less personalized, a generic message or something like that. one fine day when we were releasing a feature, we found out that one of the error categories that we have went up, and it was affecting a certain set of providers. That was the first segment that we look at. Once we started drilling down into this issue, we realized that it was affecting only a certain set of employers underneath that provider. So a provider like maybe Vanguard has association with a lot of employers. So only some of them were affected due to this sort of an error category. And once we realized that, we started drilling down into details for those specific employers. And we realized that this third-party URL was failing. This API call that we had was failing a lot. And it was over 80%, I would say, of the calls for that employer were failing for this particular URL. So then we realized that this is something wrong across the intranet that they have. So usually employers and the HR benefits page are accessible through the intranet. And if a big number like this happens, you get to know that something is wrong with that. So when we reached out to the employers, we realized that their intranet was blocking this URL through their firewall. And we told them to basically unblock this URL, and that we are using this URL. It's not like an attack or some other third party calling this URL on your website. So they basically unblocked that URL, and then we saw the error rate drop significantly, and our application performance was back to normal. So this kind of an issue would have been very hard to detect without Business IQ, mainly because of two reasons. The customer doesn't know, because we every time you come in, we show a different personalized content to you. So, and since you don't see an error page, the customer might not know what went wrong. It's only the application that knows that something went wrong. We might have eventually realized it after a few days or maybe weeks that the conversion went down, and we could not have even able to relate on why the conversion would have went down. So issues like these help us quickly and improve the user's experience in the best possible way and in the shortest possible time. So I'll just go over some of the benefits that I personally feel I get due to Business IQ. One is, now that the industry is moving towards the DevOps mindset, it's important for every application developer to think about operations also, and not just develop the application and rely on some other teams in the organization to basically deploy them, monitor them, and fix issues, or maybe report them. Promoting this mindset was very easy because of Business IQ, because you had to just invest some time initially while developing the application, so that all these dashboards and the segments could have been captured and easily be able to view the customer experience from dashboards and other metrics like latency and traffic. You don't have to go in every time and do a custom query. So that helped us a lot in the developer community itself to identify how the release went out, or any other feature that you roll out, how was that doing across your customers. The second important thing is the application developers are usually responsible for development, and requirements and certain decisions that are to be made while developing applications come from the product or from the business on how the business metrics are doing. Tying these together from an application developer perspective is a huge impact. This gives me as a developer an advantage on how I can look at the business and the technical metrics together. And if I'm able to provide that data, the product is happy about that, and they get to know these things upfront. And that helped me with the fact that I got greater visibility in the organization. I was being asked about certain things about how the application does from a business standpoint, and then driving those business decisions helped us a lot. And this is kind of a selfish from a developer perspective. We care about the application design as a developer, and a lot of these things help us, because if I know the patterns, if I know how the customers are behaving across my application, what are the browsers that they use, this helps me in understanding and developing custom solutions or handling edge cases, which I would not have probably given priority before. But if I know that a certain customer segment is accessing certain set of browsers or behaving with these features in a separate way, I know how to architect them and support it through scalability or custom browser support or maybe writing some extra code that makes these easier and customer experience flawless.